Every year, thousands of construction workers are seriously injured in America. Construction workers find themselves confronted by dangerous, unsafe work conditions on a daily basis. There are laws and regulations to protect all workers, whether they are iron workers, construction workers, electricians, mechanics, bricklayers, painters, or carpenters. However, these laws and regulations can be very difficult for the injured worker to navigate without the help of experienced construction lawyers. Scherr Legate is one of Texas and America's premier construction accident law firms. These lawyers with hard hats have a long and proud tradition of representing laborers of all kinds who have been injured on the job. They are well-versed in labor law and have recovered tens of millions of dollars on behalf of injured workers. The firm has also represented union and non-union workers, laborers, electricians, carpenters, sheet metal workers, plumbers, iron workers, and steam fitters. They also represent documented as well as undocumented workers.
Today, the Insider Exclusive Investigative News team takes an inside look at the Texas law firm of Scherr Legate with one of its founders, Jim Scherr, in a new network TV special, Justice in America, Refugio Ramos' story, examining the firm's outstanding record for seeking justice for workers injured on the job that matches none. On November 19, 2013, Ramos was working as an employee of a roofing contractor who was putting a roof on a federal building at White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico. As his employer's tar lugger was being moved on the roof by co-workers, it tipped. Hot, molten tar erupted out of the top spout. Ramos was standing over 6 feet away, yet the eruption of hot, molten tar covered Ramos from head down, and he was severely burned. Ramos was severely burned all over his body. He was airlifted to the closest hospital in El Paso, Texas, then to the burn center in Lubbock, Texas. Ramos had extensive second and third degree burns. His life was devastated by this incident. From being a valued worker, Ramos became unemployable. He became homeless, living in the city of Juarez, Mexico, eating out of trash cans. He had offended his entire family because of his constant, painful agony that affects him every day, all day. His disfigurement is atrocious. He had past medical bills of $307,554 and cannot obtain medical care as he has no money, no transportation, and other problems, though he needs care both psychological to physical, and causing severe and extensive grotesque burns to his body, including his face, entire chest, and hands. Defendants were sued for product liability plus piercing the corporate veil. For piercing the corporate veil, the individual defendants owned Reeves Equipment Company that ran the roofing equipment business as well as the land and building. However, defendants totally disregarded corporate formalities, such as backdating corporate minutes days before their depositions were taken, commingling money, and siphoning off corporate funds for their own personal benefit. Though defendants were unaware of this injury at the time, defendants did an asset sale and ceased operating the business approximately the same time as the incident. They sold assets to another company, including their name and their accounts and their insurance. Jim knows how to make sure juries understand how injuries can truly devastate a person's personal and professional life. In representing all his clients, he won't be outworked, and he will not rest until justice is done for his clients. The results speak for themselves. Jim has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best trial lawyers in El Paso, in Texas, and in the nation. And because of that, he is driven to fight for people who have been harmed by the willful or negligent actions of others. He has built a substantial reputation nationwide by consistently winning cases other law firms have turned down. And his amazing courtroom skills and headline-grabbing success rate continue to provide his clients with the results they need and the results they deserve. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from El Paso, Texas. It is my great pleasure to introduce Jim Scherr to the show. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Good to see you, Steve.
Tell our audience a little bit about what your firm does.
We do wrongful death and serious personal injury cases, and I've been doing it in my 50th year practicing law. I've tried over 300 jury trials in multiple states throughout the nation. That we take care of people who really need help when they need it the most. That's what we do.
We did a similar case to this Ramos case many years ago about a tar lugger that was severely injured, burned. Construction is a dangerous job. So you had some experience with these types of cases. Tell our audience about your client, Ramos.
Let me start off with talking about tar lugger, if I may. Tar luggers are used on construction roofing jobs. They are basically home-built barrels, 55-gallon drums, that are filled up with hot molten tar at a temperature of about 425 to 450 degrees. And they have a spout on the top, and they pour the hot tar in and move the hot tar along the roof to apply and hold the roofing material. Well, as they move it, the hot molten tar, which is melted, can create a bubble, especially if it tilts. That bubble creates a volcano inside that tar lugger, which causes an eruption out the spout and can throw that hot molten tar out 15 to 18, 20 feet high and outward. It's happened. This is not the first case. It wasn't my second case. And there have been other cases throughout the nation where people have gotten severely injured when they get hit and covered with hot molten tar. That is what happened here with this poor gentleman, Refugio Ramos, who was working really hard to put on a roof on a federal building at White Sands Missile Range. His upper torso, his face, his body was burned.
You have this sticky, hot, molten tar on your skin. How do you survive that?
It's very, very difficult. He was airlifted off to the burn center. The treatment for that is awful. You know, they scrape the skin, which is extremely painful. They have to give pain medication. If the person is able to survive, and they have to have that will to survive, they live through a long course of treatment. It's extremely difficult. In the case of Refugio Ramos, here's a gentleman who is a hardworking, dependable roofer.
With a family.
He never worked a day after. His whole life was devastated. He received some workers' compensation benefits, but because it's not broken bones and he didn't get killed, it's just horrible burns, his ability to recover was extremely limited, and they cut off his medical benefits. He went and moved over to live with family in Ciudad Juarez, which is right across from El Paso, and it was so difficult for him, he had nothing. He was on the street going in trash cans, getting food to eat. He lost everything he had.
Including his family?
Including his family, even his mother.
So you have cases like this before. What is your approach to trying a case? And in particularly, this employer decided he'd do something clever, right? He decided to sell the company, the brand name, all this other stuff, so he wouldn't have liability, correct?
Well, what happened is the Reeves Roofing Company sold out to another company called Great Northern that came in and bought all their assets, including the name, and paid the Reeves family for that. The Reeves family then ceased doing business as providing roofing equipment like this, and actually worked for a short period of time for Great Northern, expanding their business and encouraging all their customers to keep the business at Great Northern. We sued Great Northern. They said, look, we didn't sell this piece of equipment. It wasn't ours. We're not liable. Federal court agreed with them. We also sued the Reeves Roofing Equipment Company and then sued the family members who got the money in the sale.
Individually.
Yes, sir. They received the money. We sued, we were in New Mexico. They said, no, we're not liable because we don't do business in New Mexico. So we turned around and sued them in their county in San Antonio, Texas, and sued them, the company as well as the individuals in San Antonio.
You're the lawyer that doesn't go away.
Neither do the burns and the scars and the horrible life this man has. And that's what I live for. I live to help my clients. I don't do this because I need money. I do it because I care and I want to do these things. And I'm 72 years of age and I'm still doing it, and I'm going to continue doing it as long as I can, because there are not many people who do it because they want to do it.
I've talked to other experts about piercing the corporate veil. They said it's very difficult.
Really tough.
You know, unless in the formation of the corporation, they made mistakes.
Not even that. In Texas, they've had laws where corporate documents not following those rules is not a basis to knock out corporate veil. However, if you use the assets for yourself, that can void or get you out of the corporate veil defense. So that's what we did, is we sued the shareholders and the people who owned the company, who, frankly, in the evidence we were developing, we went in detail. My background, I originally started off as a tax lawyer and a real estate lawyer. So I'm real detailed when it gets to the financial side. And I got into the financial side of that company and the shareholders and how they were handling the money, how they were paying the rent to their own wholly owned company, who all was involved. I looked at the interrelationship and, you know, how you're playing with the books.
Yeah, you could show that it was a personal piggy bank.
Or using it in a way as a sham is one theory, or using the corporate assets for their personal purposes.
So what was the end result of this case?
Well, again, you're into a complicated lawsuit, multiple jurisdictions, New Mexico, Texas, fights over what we can get in discovery, years of litigation. And as we started getting it ready for trial, we came to a resolution and the case resolved.
Good. How is Mr. Ramos today?
Fortunately, Mr. Ramos was able to get some money. I was trying to reach Mr. Ramos, and I am not able to find him. And that was hard for us last time, even during the process of the lawsuit. I was trying to get him to come here to be here today. But Mr. Ramos is, I had family members out looking for him. He had a family member who was a judge, a former judge here in El Paso, and did not have any good fortune in being able to locate him. You know, last I heard, he was still destitute. Now he has some money, so I hope he's using it well.
In the construction business, injuries happen all the time. And I know you've handled some cases like that over the years. What is the first thing that a construction worker should do when they're injured on the job?
Immediately get a really good lawyer who knows what they're doing in injury and wrongful death in construction. Everybody and their brother advertises for personal injury cases. That didn't mean they're good at it. They need to find somebody who knows what they're doing with the background, experience, and qualifications to do it. Second, they need to preserve the evidence, because people that they're working with who they think are their friends will clam up. Third, being able to document that and take pictures, getting the documents and the information and the photographs and the extrinsic evidence to prove it is critical. It needs to be done immediately.
In a lot of these cases, though, when you're injured, first thing you should do is get medical help right away. But second of all, your so-called friends that you brought up a minute ago are not your friends when it comes to testifying for you, because they don't want to lose their jobs.
That's for sure.
So how do you preserve, you mentioned getting a good lawyer right away, how do you preserve the evidence that you need to win a case like that?
Well, that's our job. Immediately, we send off a letter to preserve the evidence. We have a whole litany of things we direct to be preserved. Second, we do an immediate investigation of the parties that have some culpability and responsibility. We may investigate their background, the number of other claims they've had, any incidents they've had that are reported to OSHA and some of the governmental entities, looking at other lawsuits that they may have had, gathering information as quickly as we possibly can. Sometimes we're able to get some really good stuff. Sometimes we have to wait and we're delayed till we go through the court process. But by sending off the preservation of evidence letter, that's really important.
Because that's kind of like, that's the law.
Well, and more than that, there's a cause of action in New Mexico, for example, called spoliation. And you can actually sue if somebody loses or destroys the evidence. Other states have different rules of whether you can sue for that or it's a presumption. In Texas, it's a presumption. If a party destroys the evidence, there can be a presumption that that evidence would have been unfavorable to them.
Well, congratulations on getting a settlement for Mr. Ramos, and we certainly hope he's doing as well as he possibly can today.
Thank you very much, and we hope so. We hope that the people who are watching this recognize how important it is that they preserve their rights.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at InsiderExclusive.com.